Now, people living in some parts of northeast England say a rise in antisocial behaviour has led them to feeling petrified in their own homes, scared to walk down the street at night.
Councils, police forces in England and Wales are each being given £1 million to roll out targeted patrols from next month. Martin Lindsay reports on how antisocial behaviour is affecting one area.
Would you feel safe at home if this was happening on your doorstep? It might start as vandalism, but can quickly escalate to serious or violent crime.
4 or 5 of them. There's one of them on run, and then he just kicked like a...
This is Yugendrin. He runs this shop in Jarrow on South Tyneside. But over the last few months, he's become a target. A group wearing balaclavas regularly shoplift.
They come, the thief all the time, steal whatever they want.
They attacked his home with his terrified family inside.
They broke my door, the back door and front door. My wife was crying, my sister's crying, we don't know what to do.
Then they racially abused him.
Come on, like P words, so that's like always swearing outside.
And threatened him with a lit firework and weapons.
They come with a fire, There's like a fire, the firework. They come with the knuckle rings at the day and with a knife. He's waving the knife at the day, at the back door.
A short drive from Yugendrin's shop is Hebburn town centre. When day turns to night, antisocial behaviour and crime is rife.
It used to be a lovely, safe town, but now we're a breaking point.
We spoke to one woman who's lived here for 60 years. She's too frightened to speak on camera, but told us the town's become a scary place at night.
There's criminal damage, arson, shoplifting and shop staff being threatened. The response from the police is negative. I've never seen such a decline in morals and disgust and feral behaviour from teenagers in this town.
There has been eggs thrown off the window, banging on the window, either on bikes, blasting around the town. It might be a laugh in front of them, but it's not to us as the business owners. Do you know what I mean? We're trying to earn a living and it's just hard.
And even a charity helping struggling families has been targeted.
I did use the term lawless because I feel like that's where we're headed, where we've got loads and loads of elderly residents. I know there's a lot of them won't even come into the town centre once it does get dark.
The shops warn each other on radios if groups are in the area.
The shops are having to close the doors because there was like just young ones braying on the doors, so pull the shutters down and just kind of pretend that we're not in there. Sad, but it needs to be done sometimes. I mean, there was fire extinguishers going through the windows.
But some victims told us they've lost faith in the police. We've exclusively seen police figures which show there were almost 73,000 reports of antisocial behaviour in the North East last year. But we found a police officer attended fewer than half of those. That works out at an average of 111 antisocial behaviour calls, not getting a response every day.
What I would say is if it is crime, if it's violence, if it's racism, we want people to call 999.
And we've learnt Northumbria Police went to just 42% of all antisocial behaviour calls last year. So that works out at around 25,000 potential victims of crime where an officer just didn't attend the scene. Is that good enough?
It's not good enough. The police are incredibly stretched. They have to prioritise serious incidents of violence or calls for 999, urgent incidents above antisocial behaviour calls, and that is real frustration.
2 boys, aged 14 and 15, have now been arrested and bailed in connection with reports of robbery, burglary and criminal damage. But victims like Yugendrin want more protection, and he's worried what the group will do next.
After that, every night we couldn't sleep. Mentally we upset all the time. It's very, very scary and, very, 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 very sad. They make us like unhappy.
We're joined now by Steve Turner. Steve's the Police and Crime Commissioner for Cleveland and the local policing lead for the Association of Police and Crime Commissioners. Morning.
Good morning.
What we saw in that report there was obviously antisocial behaviour. Hooliganism, bullying, intimidation.
Yeah.
What's your definition of antisocial behaviour?
I think what we saw now is criminal behaviour.
Yeah.
I think most antisocial behaviour has a criminal element in it. The challenge comes with, because of what it is and the element of it and the way our courts are, you are highly unlikely to get a criminal conviction for something like that. So most classify it as antisocial behaviour because it's almost like we expect a slightly lesser punishment for that. But some of the things we saw in there are horrific, and those young men should be brought to justice.
So when you are told, here's more money to tackle antisocial behaviour, the thing about antisocial behaviour is it's almost the interpretation of it, because there are people who are saying, I'm too scared to walk on the street, be it daytime or evening. I'm worried about being safe in my own home because I'm hearing or concerned about what's going on outside. How do you assess what is worth tackling at what time?
I think what we've got to do is, policing is only a small part of the solution. So clamping down on that type of behaviour from a policing perspective is almost too late. It's already happened. So what we've done in Cleveland is we've worked in conjunction with our local authorities. We've got a new app that makes it easy for people to report antisocial behaviour, and where we can target those hotspots with uniformed patrols.
So with an app, how quickly is there a response? Because someone might be reporting, OK, I'll go to the app, say this is going on outside. How quickly is someone
Sometimes
response?
it's not about that response. So off-road motorbikes is a massive issue for us up in the northeast. And knowing where those bikes live, where they're kept, who's riding them, that type of information allows our police officers to then go and take them at source and take them safely and get them off the streets that way. And it's that working in partnership piece is what we really need to do, because policing in itself isn't going to solve the antisocial behaviour problem. It's about our communities and how we work together to drive that down.
So your patch, your area, has been one of the trial areas. So can you do a compare and contrast for us, the difference it's made? So, you know, a day in, I don't know where are we, in January.
Yeah.
I don't know when the trial started, but, you know, paint a picture of a police station and a group of officers trying to do their job then and now.
We started, so with this particular trial, we started, and like I said, we've used community safety wardens, not police officers. Most of the forces on the trialed it with police officers, so we did something slightly different. And what we've seen, and it started in July, so from July to December last year, we've got hotspot areas that have seen 60–70% drops in antisocial behaviour reports, purely because we're working with local community, we're gathering names, we're gathering information, and that's allowing the police to then take proactive action rather than always having to react, which is what we sadly see on some of the reports.
So this is, just so people understand, because often, and you will know this full well, people say, what we never see down our high street or down our street ever is a uniform. And that would be a good thing. They link that with antisocial behaviour. Very clear. That is, I think, what people do, rightly or wrongly, but the stats back that up. But does this change that? Are there more uniforms as a result
Without
on
a
the streets?
So people seeing a uniform improves the perception of safety. Whether it actually physically improves the safety is a point. And there's so much crime happens where we need to react, and we need to react quickly. It's some forces like Cleveland just don't have the resources to be walking down the street some days as opposed to being in a van or a car. But what this does in those micro hotspot areas, and some of them are less than maybe half a mile square, we're able to work with the community, and that's the key. It's the information that comes from those patrols that allows us to do proactive work rather than the actual patrols themselves.
And I'm not trying to be cynical about this, Steve, but is there a risk that, so you deal with it in one place, and you said these are very tight areas, it just goes somewhere else, and then you start picking up reports somewhere else?
It does. The thing about that, though, with young people is they're quite territorial. So often they won't stretch into another area in this area. So we do see some of that. It can be like whack-a-mole some days, and you sort of see it in one area and it pops up somewhere else, and then you've got to react to that. But overall, like I said, if we've got a 70% reduction, that's a 70% reduction in victims.
So the headline today is, 43 forces get more money, at least £1 million to ramp up patrols, an estimated 20,000 hours a year, part of a bigger funding package. Is it enough? Because I heard £1 million. I was like, huh?
It's never enough. But for every one of those victims that isn't a victim today, it is enough. And it's in conjunction with what policing already does. So antisocial behaviour has been a problem as long as I've been a police and crime commissioner. It's been the #1 thing in my inbox. And we've done a lot of work already. This is additionality. So it's not on its own, it's an additional funding resource to allow some forces like ours to do something really different.
And the use of community officers, is that enough in terms of, you know, you were talking about the visibility of seeing uniforms on the street, the type of uniforms you see, is that enough? Or because there's been a big discussion about whether or not there has been an increase in police numbers under this Conservative government, for example. I just wonder what you're seeing and how these numbers are being presented.
I think we have seen these. So we've had over 300 extra officers in Cleveland and more to come. With these, though, like I said, it comes back to that point. By the time you need a police officer, it's too late. This is about the proactive and the preemptive approach, because that's how we tackle antisocial behaviour. We work in schools, we work with youth organisations. We try and divert some of these young people away from the streets and away from this type of behaviour. And only by doing that, it's almost the old broken windows theory. When the communities take pride in themselves, it works far better than when we just try and go in and impose a regime.
And Steve, it's a slight technicality, but on that issue now, he was asking about numbers.
Yeah.
When you say you've recruited more police officers in your area, is that more numbers overall? Are there more left? Are there more joining? Is the aggregate number more?
Yeah, ours is. So in Cleveland, in 2019 in Cleveland, we had 1,200 officers. We're now at about 1,505. So we've recruited for those we've lost through retirement and leaving for various reasons, and it's an additionality on top of that. And that's the same for every force I'm aware of across the country.
Does it improve morale, having that many more?
Yeah. It improves morale across the board. There's still more to done. Would I love another couple of hundred police officers? Of course I would. But it's how we use them, and that's what's important. It's how we use the resources we've got, rather than focusing on what we haven't got or what we could have. We'll take this money, we'll work in conjunction with safer streets. When we do target hardening in conjunction with hotspot patrols, that's where we see the real big numbers start to drop.
It's a subject that matters to everyone. I mean, and I thank you for your time this morning. It's Steve Turner, Police and Crime Commissioner for Cleveland. Thank you.
Thank you.